Bitcoin could possibly be showing early signs of a reversal. Momentum is shifting, and we could finally be seeing the setup for the final blow off top move to conclude this bull market. But that doesn't mean I'm still not cautious. This could be a trap before one more pullback. So let's break it down and see exactly what's going to happen. Quick announcement, I just made a brand new Discord server. If you guys want to join the community, ask me questions directly, or come along with me through this whole journey, make sure you hop in. I'll leave the link in the description, and thank you. For real-time updates on my trades, entries, and portfolio decisions, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Make sure you like the video and subscribe, and let's get into the video. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Welcome to the beginning of the week. Over the weekend, Bitcoin actually started to look a little bit better. We saw some green candles on Saturday and Sunday, and now we're pushing even higher on Monday. But even though the chart looks good, I'm still not fully convinced just yet. The cycle low window is still open until the end of the month, which means a pullback is still very possible before we actually take off. So let's go over everything I'm watching, and we'll go through this step by step. Before I get into the main points of this video, I want to just cover this because some of you guys may be confused. So in my last video, I said that the daily and weekly cycle low has already formed here. But that is technically incorrect. There is a possibility that that is the weekly cycle low. The daily cycle can last anywhere between 54 and 66 days, give or take. So there is also a possibility that the daily cycle and weekly cycle has not formed just yet, and it could form within the next 17 days. So that's why I'm staying cautious and saying that we could see another pullback into it if it has not formed already. I just wanted to correct myself there to make sure there was no confusion. Now, even though the weekly cycle low could be formed within the next 17 days, there is a positive sign that a reversal is coming, and it could have been formed already. So on Saturday, we had the first declining bearish momentum candle in the MACD, and this is exactly what we have been waiting for. That's the first step we want to see towards a reversal. If momentum keeps fading this week, as it has Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, it's getting smaller and smaller, and we finally get a bullish cross. That could be the final mark and start of our final move into a blow off top. That is really the key moment we need to watch once this crosses bullish. Keep in mind, we have seen fake outs before. We've seen a declining bearish momentum, and then it picks up again until it finally fades out. So that is still possible. So keep your eye on that, but it's looking good so far. Now, I want to talk about what's going to happen after we get the cross, but first I need to look at where we are in this cycle because we have not covered it in a couple videos. Now, the reason I want to cover this first is because it's very important timing-wise. What happens within the next couple weeks in the MACD will indicate if this is actually the final blow-off top move, or is this going to be a failed rejection again going into a bear market. Now, if you look at this chart, you can clearly see that we are running out of time. We have about 30 days, give or take, until the cycle is over, quote unquote over. It could extend, it could be a little longer, but let's just say this is our timing range. Everything needs to happen within this November time frame. So the way I'm measuring this is from the absolute high of the bull market all the way to around the next halving. And people can measure this the way they want. Obviously, I have here, this is our accumulation. This is where we want to be accumulating as much Bitcoin as possible. But for me, I would be comfortable accumulating in anywhere within this range. And I know from the lows to here, this is a way bigger move than from here to here. But I'm still going to measure it like this because this is the way I like to do it. And you can see I did it here in this previous cycle, the absolute high to about the halving. And that's when Bitcoin finally gets its final push. Even though it's not the most profitable, where the most gains are, it's where we get that final push into a blow off top. So that's what I'm measuring. Now, as I said, the reason I'm showing this is because we need to move into the final blow off top phase of this bull market. We need Bitcoin to accelerate quickly. Ideally, when the MACD crosses bullish, will already be at a price around 120K. If that happens, that will be excellent, okay? And that would give us enough room, I think, for a parabolic move up into a blow off top. Nothing crazy. I'm still expecting like 140K. But this part of the cycle needs to have a lot of volume, a lot of momentum, and it needs to happen quick. Now that we know we are stripped for time and we only have about 30 days to make this blow off top happen, give or take, it could be 30 to 60 days, but we want this to happen in November. What we want to see is big consecutive green candles like this pushing us into all-time highs. Now, if we see us get to like 128, okay, we made new highs, but then we see a declining momentum candle, that is a big red flag, and that's going to tell us that we're probably going to get rejected and we probably are going to go into a bear market. And if that happens, I would definitely be taking profit and getting out of the market if we see at least one or two declining momentum candles, because we want to see this just green, 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 and then we come to the weekly, and hopefully the weekly will flip bullish. But I'm not sure. We really need to keep an eye on that. But as I said, the ideal scenario is us having big green candles, no declining momentum. We just keep pushing and pushing and pushing into the end of November, and that would give us an ideal blow off top. Now, why do I think this is possible? Why do I think we can go into a blow off top? I think the fuel for the move is going to be a short squeeze in liquidations of shorts. Now, why did this move happen? Why did this drop? Let's say 20%, because some exchanges went as low as this, right? So let's just say round it off to 20%. Why did we have a 20% decline in the price of Bitcoin in such a short period of time? So if you guys remember, there was approximately 16.7 billion in long liquidations, and that's what caused such a big move. Now, you'd think that people would learn their lesson, but in reality, they never do. And as you see here, there is already 14 billion in short liquidations that will happen at approximately 123K. There is almost the same amount of leverage in the system that there was for this downside move to happen, but the other way around. And that's why I think the blow off top could still happen. If we get a MACD bullish cross, that short leverage could get absolutely squeezed, and we would have a short squeezed into new highs and rip absolutely higher. Now remember, this is the ideal scenario, and if this does happen, it doesn't really matter what price we get to, whether it's 133 or we just keep pushing to 140. Once we see a declining momentum candle, that's when we can seriously start to consider selling almost everything, especially all leverage positions need to go. Now that sounds amazing, but I want to give a possible bearish scenario before we actually get to those levels, because if you look here, there is still about 7 billion in longs that could be liquidated if we go to 97K. Let's just say we go to 98K, that's where most is going to get liquidated, or around $100,000. About 7 billion in longs will get liquidated. It is still possible that, let's say, we move into a weekly cycle low somewhere around the next 17 days. Let's say we get one more pullback into 100K. It wipes out all the leverage, and then of course the short leverage will be even more than 13 billion, because the price of Bitcoin will go down. People will think we're in a bear market, and it will just keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And the more it stacks, the more explosive the move to the upside is going to be. Now, if you guys remember in last video, we talked about this 50-week SMA, and if we come here and bounce off of it, that would perfectly align with liquidating all of those longs and then give us a bounce, a higher low being formed here from this bounce, and that would just give us more confirmation that we're moving into a final push. Now, I'm not saying that one or the other is going to happen. These are just possibilities. As I said, there's Also another possibility that the bottom is already formed here and we just continue upward to liquidate all of these longs. It doesn't have to come down and liquidate all these because we're going to go into a bear market anyway, and it will come after these eventually. But I'm just saying it is a possibility, and honestly I think if we do destroy all those longs, it would be amazing and we would just go straight into absolute mania. So as for our pitchforks, we have bounced off this median line. Remember, this one is pulled from 50K, the 50K lows. And then if we come to this one, which was our original one, you can see here that there's a little bit of resistance, but Bitcoin seems to be breaking that already. So we'll see what happens. I would say that our next target, if a bottom has actually formed, would be somewhere up here, so around 127. And then let's hope we actually just keep squeezing and we push up to 130, 133, whatever it's going to be, and we could finally get out of this freaking market. So as where I stand right now, things are looking better. Okay, things are improving. We might be close to a reversal if it has not already been in. I'm not touching anything right now. I'm not selling anything. I'm not touching the trade. As always, we need to stay patient. As the days go on, we'll get more information and we can decide what to do. Let's hope that we finally get a bullish cross on the MACD. Momentum builds strong, and that pushes us into our final blow off top. Until then, I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.